Hey everyone, I'm John.
And I'm Brian.
And we run the channel Chaotic Commander. And today this is going to be a new segment called Commander Chats Name Pending. We are going to be talking about 3 cards each we are excited for from the new Foundations set. If you didn't know, Foundations is the new standard legal set that'll be in the format for the next 5 years. And it has a lot of hype because it goes back to a lot of the Magic the Gathering roots. We're taking a step away from all the silly planes, back to characters we know and love. These are cards that I feel like haven't been talked about as much. But before we get into the video, why don't you guys drop a comment about the cards you're personally excited for that are dropping in Foundations. All right, Brian, why don't you take us away?
Yeah, man, I want to get started off with this white common from the set. I've seen a couple people talking about it, but Heir Apparent has got to be one of my favorite cards of the set here. Just a great card overall. It's a 2/2. When it enters, you create a number of 1/1 white rabbits equal to the number of other creatures you control named Heir Apparent. And then a deck can have any number of cards named Heir Apparent. So it's one of those cards, right? I think there's a couple in red or blue, and then there's every color has one at this point, right? Shadowborn Apostle, Persistent Petitioners, that kind of thing. White had one from the Assassin's Creed set. And this is sort of the first in-universe version we're getting for white here. And just really on theme, especially with the recent Bloomburrow set, right? We've had all those new rabbit commanders that care about rabbits.
Yeah.
So works really well there. Any white weenie strategy, this is great in. And then also, I was thinking, I have like an Sir Arthur deck from Bloomburrow. I also have the Jeskai Energy Commander, where you like to make token copies of creature. And because this is whenever it enters, if you make a token copy or if you're bouncing it back to your hand and recasting it, you're just going to have a ton of value from it over and over. I think this is going to be a big hitter here.
Yeah, I agree. I love making tokens. That's one of my favorite mechanics in Magic the Gathering. And
oh, I know.
Yeah, so it's just something I love to do, and I like little ones like Kiora, Caller the Small, Zephyr Awakener. They all make a bunch of 1/1 tokens, and this kind of fits in. I don't know if I'd run like 30 of it in a deck, like some people do with like Slimes Against Humanity, but this is a really cool card, and it's really good that it's a common. So I think the Templar Knights was like uncommon, right?
Yeah, most of these are actually at common level, like Slime Against Humanity. That's a common level card. It ends up reaching up in price to around like $4 a pop, and this will probably get there too. I could definitely see it come there, but yeah, it definitely helps that it's common and not uncommon like the Templar Knights.
Yeah, because I know I didn't open a booster box of Karlov Manor, but I did not pull a single Slime Against Humanity in like
really
the bundle or any of the loose packs that I pulled. So
it's really a common, you know what
right.
I mean?
Yeah, one of those commons. Yeah. All right, and so for my first card, I went with something that I love, but it probably isn't that good of a card in most decks. Card is Rite of the Dragon Caller. 4 red and red for a mythic enchantment that says when you cast an instant or sorcery, create a 5/5 red dragon token with flying. It makes tokens, it makes big ones. This is like a payoff for slinging spells, and if you like to throw out cheap cantrips, this is a good payoff for that. Can give some other decks an alternative way to end games. I see this in like Izzet deck, for example, my Ovika Enigma Goliath deck. It makes tokens when you cast non-creature spells. Instant and sorceries are also non-creatures, so you get a dragon and a bunch of goblins. So it kind of works pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I could see it working well in those decks. It can be a very win more card, like you were saying, where you need to put a lot of investment into it before you see any return. But if you get investment off the cast, like with Ovika, or you can cheat it into play, that's when you start to get value off this card. And I think if you're building around that, this is a slam dunk.
Exactly. That was what I was about to say. The only issue is that it costs 6 mana, so you have a lower chance of capitalizing on it the turn it comes out, but it does give Izzet decks more firepower and an additional payoff for spell slinging. All right, anything else you want to add about this card?
No, it's probably going to fit right into my Slime Against Humanity deck that I have with the Luna as the commander. So Luna can cheat this out for free, and then I'm getting 5/5s with my 7/7, 8/8, 10/10 oozes. So it's going to be great.
All right, sick. Well, why don't you introduce your second card?
Yeah, I've actually got a commander here for this second card. It's going to be Kaikar, Zephyr Awakener. 2 of anything, a white and a blue for a 3/4 flying bird wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you choose one. You either exile another target creature you control, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, or you create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So very cool. Similar to the last Kaikar, right? Because the last Kaikar was when you cast instant or sorceries, you make spirits, and then you can sacrifice spirits for mana. This one, you can go into more of a blink theme, which is really neat, but it's any non-creature spell. So I think you can go in a bunch of different directions here. You can go planeswalkers, right? That's a fun one. You're making blockers and flying blockers to chump for your planeswalkers so they'll live longer. You could go the artifact strategy. You can go enchantments here. And I think you could also go Spirit Kindred or Flying Kindred if you really wanted to, right? There's a lot of great cards for that. I know Ranar from the Kaldheim sets would really love to be in a Kaikar deck and vice versa, but a lot of versatility here, and I could actually see this in the 99. I have a bunch of Blink decks as well.
Yeah, definitely can get you a lot of value repeating ETB effects. That's what I was thinking of. It's got white and blue. Those are 2 colors that are really good at doubling into the battlefield effects. You've got, I think, 2 enchantments right off the rip that I know for blue. There's a new room that came out in Duskmourn that doubles triggered abilities. Then there's also the adventure one from
that one.
Eldraine, and then you've also got Mother of Machines. The only thing that would make this card better is if it like came back right away, but I think that'd be too good.
Or if you could exile any permanent instead of just a creature. It's sort of like a more fair Displacer Kitten in that way, and it was like you're saying Displacer Kitten does it immediately, and it can do any any permanent, right? So very solid there. But Kaikar's still amazing, and in the command zone, going to be very strong as well.
Yeah, there's lots of ways you can use Kaikar to wipe the board and still maintain your own board using the blink and stuff. So it's a really cool commander. I liked seeing other people's thoughts on this and hearing your thoughts. It's pretty cool.
What about you? What's your next card?
All right, my next card is going to be Mossor Hydra. 2 and a green for an elemental Hydra with trample. And when it ETBs, it gets a +1/+1 counter, but the best part, it has landfall. Double the +1/+1 counters on it. That is crazy. This card goes really hard for a 3-drop in my opinion, especially in landfall decks. You've got Azusa, Dryad of the Elysian Grove, the new loot even. They're all mono green and they give additional land drops. You've got AC. You've got so many land fall payoffs in green, and this can get exponentially big really quick. Like even with the Azusa out, you play 2 lands after you cast this, you're already at 4. So 4/4. Next turn, it could get up to, shoot, it's like it gets big fast.
I see this as like a power crept Mana Gorger Hydra, where it's 3-drop for a, it's a 2/2, but it gets a 1/1 counter for each spell that's cast, right? So, but this just gets counters a lot quicker, a lot faster. My only gripe with this, and in fact, I didn't even know this was a card until you told me today, and it looks crazy, but my only gripe is that it doesn't work with the Zamone from the Duskmourn set, the Precon Commander, because it won't get that 1/1 counter when you manifest Dread it and flip it face up. So it'll come in as a 0/0, but definitely this can get really scary in the right decks. And I think Foundations as a whole has put a lot of really good landfall cards into the set that are going to be buffing those decks up. So landfall decks already incredibly scary just because one of the least hated card types are lands, right? In the format, but they're just adding so much more. So I would say you need to be adding more land destruction to your decks, not mats, but definitely untargeted, and make sure to watch out for some of these big creatures that are going to be going online with those too.
Yeah, my Tattoo of a deck would love this card. I've got so many ways to get additional land drops. This card can become an immediate threat if it's played properly, and it will probably be targeted after a turn or two. There's so many ways to even increase it, like branching evolution, doubling season, even hardened scales can make this thing nuts. And another card like that was printed in that precon, Ashaya Soul of the Wild.
Yeah.
Every time you manifest Dread, this thing doubles because of Ashaya turning them all into, and it's, oh man, I get excited just thinking about this card.
Yeah, it's definitely the best in a landfall shell, but it works in any +1/+1 counter shell as well, right? You're going to be growing it less, but if you can keep buffing it or modified shell, right, giving it more benefits is only going to help it out too.
Right. I was thinking like Polakranos, Hydra, Typal, like that'd be so cool. Like, because there's like Hydras that find lands and stuff that care about lands, so there's some synergy there, but. Yeah, I could talk about this forever, but go ahead and let's go over your last card.
Yeah, last card here is new Planeswalker from the set, Kaito, Cunning Infiltrator, and I bring him up because I've been waiting for them to do this for a while. They have finally a Planeswalker for 3 mana, 3 loyalty. The static is whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you put a loyalty counter on Kaito. Then you have a +1 to make up to 1 target creature you control unable to be blocked this turn. Draw a card, then discard a card. You can -2 to make a 2/1 blue ninja creature token, and you can -9 to get an emblem with whenever a player casts a spell, you create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token. So this doesn't look great on the surface, right? Just 3 loyalty. Its big minus is a -9, and even at that, you're only getting 1 creature for every spell your opponents cast. That's not really an amazing payoff. It's not a game-winning payoff, but you're getting so many loyalty counters if you're playing this in the right deck, right? You're playing a bunch of, 1/1 flyers, or any ninja deck, right, would want this, but other decks that play a bunch of really small to the ground creatures that are evasive are going to love this card. And yeah, you want to get that emblem off. It's not a game winner, but it's going to put you in such an incredible advantage, especially in a commander game where you've got 3 opponents instead of just 1. So it's definitely really solid there. I would say that, you're going to want this deck, like I said, in small evasive creature decks that want to loot, right? There is Zephyrus from the Dungeons & Dragons set that loves looting. This would be perfect in that. Shabraz and Bralin would love Kaito, right? Because you want to be drawing and discarding, and it's also going to make your massive commander unblockable. So perfect in there. And then the new Melik from Murders at Karlov Manor, who gets really massive with the amount of instants and sorceries in your graveyard, and then you can just make it unblockable with Kaito and then pitch another one to the graveyard is really strong. So you're pretty much using Kaito for its +1, and it's going to keep growing bigger because he fits with your game plan. And if you can get to that -9, that's great, but you just can continuously make creatures unblockable and also loot every turn, which is really where the value is here.
Yeah, and then it's like basically it's a +2 because at least one of your creatures is getting through. So
yeah, and now if you're +1ing and you don't have any creatures, you might be
fair.
You might have to -2 first, but yeah, no, definitely that is a very big plus. You're actually getting +2 a turn at least. That's right.
Yeah. All right, and my last card is a commander. So what does Reefworm, Ominous Seas, and Shark Typhoon have in common? They create some potentially massive creature tokens. I love it. And that's why my last card.
You had me in the first half.
Right. New commander for the channel, probably, definitely. Kiora, the Rising Tide. For 2 and a blue, you get a 3/2 Merfolk Noble that when she enters, you draw 2 and discard 2. That's a pretty decent hand filtering on a 3-drop. But she has Threshold. Whenever she attacks, there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard. You may create a Scion of the Deep legendary 8/8 blue octopus creature token. That's a big blue token creature. I love it. So this condition is pretty easy to get to in blue, actually. Kaito helps by filtering your hand, putting one in the graveyard. So there's that, and also can make her unblockable. So you're always going to get, a safe hit and then get that big token if you have the condition met. And it works well with new cards like Overlord of the Flood Pits from the Duskmourn and Cephalid Ink Mage, which is from Foundations, which has Surveil 3. So if you need 3 cards, you can just put those in the graveyard. And then there's also a lot of different ways to just filter. You've got like Windfall, you've got Wheels, you've got a bunch of cards that you can draw 3, discard 2 unless you discard a land. You could just discard 2. Like there's just a lot of ways to meet this condition. And then she gives you a beefy blocker. Also, Kiora is a merfolk. There's been a lot of merfolk support that has come out. You can, there's a lot of lords, and there's like 8 different ways to give her Island Walk. Got Master of the Pearl Trident, Lord of Atlantis, Miro Regeri, And then there's also just like all sorts of equipment that could do it too. But basically, I just like making big tokens. She's probably not that great, but I just love I love the Krakens. I love the giant octopus tokens. I love flying sharks, man. There are actually ways to get around the legend rule, so you could have multiple of these tokens laying around. It's definitely not something that's easy to do. There's like 3 cards that do it. There's Mirror Box, Mirror Gallery. Pair that with a Roaming Throne, get double the triggers. I mean, that you don't expect to get that 90% of the time, but it's really cool when you do.
Yeah, I wasn't even expecting any of those options there.
Right.
I was about to ask, how do you build Kiora? Are you going the mill strategy? Are you going the blink strategy? Or are you really focusing on getting the payoff of getting the 8/8 blue octopus legendary token? That's the thing, right? Maybe if you're going the mill strategy, you could run Altar of Dementia. So if it ends up dying, you could sacrifice it, mill somebody for 8, maybe mill yourself for 8, right? If you're doing that. But yeah, finding ways to take control or get some value off of that token, because right, you can only have one on the battlefield at a time. But definitely a very cool build around, and I'm excited to see you. What you make.
If you want to run a Grixis deck, there is that new Doctor Who card that says none of your tokens are legendary. That also gets around it also, but then she's not really the commander of her own deck. But
could be the hidden commander.
Right.
That would be spiciness there.
I just thought it was a cool card because I like big blue tokens. I run Reefworm in so many decks that it should not be in, because eventually it gets to that 9/9 Kraken. You gotta go through a 3/3 fish, a 6/6 whale, but you get there.
Reefworm is a card that I've wanted to jam in so many decks of mine, and I just can't do it. But it's such a fun card.
So bad. 4 mana for 0/1 that has the chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
I play Jank because I think it's funny. Alright guys, this is it for this video. Hope you guys get a little excited about our picks, and let us know what you are excited for in Foundations. Until next time, bye.